Welcome everyone. My name is Rajikant Patel. I am a retired executive and an author of children's books. I'll be your moderator for today. Our format will be the speaker will introduce a topic for 15 minutes. I will have some questions with him and then we'll open up for the audience. Let me first introduce today's holistic scientist, Deepakanandji. Deepakanandji is a bachelor's degree in electrical engineers and several years of experience in chemical industry. From his early childhood, he had an inclination to be celebrated and was in search of answers to the puzzles of everyday life. His answers were obtained when he received self-realization through the grace of self-realized holistic scientist Sri A.M. Patel in 1983. Since then, he has pursued his dream to work selflessly to spread the message of holistic science and his life living experience to uplift the entire mankind towards inner peace, harmony, freedom, and happiness by answering questions from all sorts of people how to solve puzzles of everyday life. He has devoted his entire life in studying of the holistic inner science and visited rural and urban areas throughout the world, including India, USA, UK, Canada, Europe, Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, spreading the scientific understanding of the life to the holistic inner science. He is an expert on holistic inner science and an interpersonal relationship. He has attended many seminars, conferences, and QA sessions. Now, we talked about holistic science. Last time we talked about it. Let me briefly give you an introduction of the holistic science. What is holistic inner science, or what we call Vitrak Vignan? There are two aspects of science in this world. One is the material or the outer science, which is also termed as a physical science. It is a science of ever-changing relative things full of activities, which we see all around the world, having a perfect chronology, meaning stepping, means a step-by-step process. Material is primarily inert matter, meaning it's non-living, but the material associated with the living aspect, body self material is living matter, which is also stepping. So, and the other aspect which is very important is the inner science, the science of the pure soul, which is real, unchanging, and with knowledge function only, which is without chronology, which means stepless. It is called inner science or Vitrak as perceived by holistic scientist Mr. A.M. Patel. It is a science of the real and the relative. But without the knowledge of the real, relative cannot be known properly, perfectly, or really understood. So this is the real science, the supreme science, which is paramount. Also, the finality of the experience is absolute knowledge. So this is a science of one's own life and living, encompassing mind, speech, and body, along with the surroundings. In fact, it's a perpetual science which is working on every core of every existence. It has solutions to the world's puzzles. What is world function? How does all we living beings function? What do we have under control? How can we be happy, harmonious living? What are the law of karma? What are the causes of anger, greed, pride, attachments? And on the spiritual side, it talks about soul, it talks about karmas, it talks of sufferings, and it talks about liberation. So these are all eternal questions that has been kept bothering of human mankind from time immemorial. And this is a holistic inner science which has brought us with without any ambiguity and which gives solutions to everyday life. Welcome, Deepakanandji.
Thank you, Mr. Patel, for introducing me, and greetings to all in oneness. Uh, I'm very happy and glad to be here with you, and thanks for giving me this grand opportunity of sharing my experience with you. Thank you, Mr. Patel, once again.
Thank you. We are very glad to have you today. But before we start today's topic, we had a homework. Observe your daily life, body function that do things against the soul functions that's simply known. So does anybody did the homework? Any feedback?
If nobody is there, then I would like to share my part.
Let me share mine first, then you can share yours. Deepika.
Okay.
Mine is now with the separation and knowing what the body is doing. It has really helped in my daily process. That means, now my interactions with people has really, really been aware. I think the main thing I can say is my mindfulness has really, really opened out, which I think has helped me in my interactions. Deepakanandji?
Right. Sure. Uh, I did a further self-study and on my life and living, and my observations are as follows. I compared the subtler activities of the body self against all knowing soul self activities. Last time, uh, I just gave an account of my all days activities, starting from waking up to going to bed, going to office, working, having dinner, and all those things. This time, I further tried to observe, and here are the results. I would say that I understand or I don't understand. I say like that. So it's an intellectual function. I know that. So that whether I understand or don't understand, the intellectual function is of the body self, and I, as soul self, know whether I understand or don't understand. Further, I say I'm sick, my head is aching, my body is aching. So the five sense feelings, those are body functions, body self function, and I know the soul self knows the five sense feelings. I say I am American, I'm Indian, I am a British national. I say I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a homemaker. So these are again of the activity of the body self, and I know this. Further, I say I'm upset, uh, I'm feeling good. I express myself also saying I'm smart and so on. That's related to my nature. That is body self nature. That also I know as a soul self. I say I'm lean, I'm fat, I'm tall, I'm short, and so on. That is again related to the body self, and I know that. I say I'm thinking, my mind is wavering. So again, that is body function, mind, speech, body, self function, and I know as soul self. I spoke nicely, I spoke elaborately, I was very bad in my dealing. I so again the speech function is the body self function I know as soul self. I liked it, I didn't like it, that is ego function, that is of the body self again, and I know as soul self. So all these subtler doing activities are of the uh, name bearer, mind, speech, body, ego, or body self. These are temporary aspects of small I, what we say, whereas all permanent knowing activities are of the soul self, that is capital I. This is how you can further feel, understand, and experience your soul self as knower only, and the name bearer, mind, speech, body self as doer of all worldly activities. Claiming doership of mind, speech, body will make you project doership and and wander in the four life forms, whereas claiming doership of soul will make you all knower like soul and get freed, and you can get liberated by attaining nirvana. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is really, really, you did your homework, and we audience were lacking all doing the homework, so hopefully we'll do it the next time. So now let me today um, introduce today's topic. We talked about holistic inner science, what it is, but now what are the real principles of holistic inner science that we can use, which can help us out in understanding ourselves? Deepakanandji?
O- Okay. So, first of all, I would like to say that for anyone to acquire this science, one must come across a holistic scientist, an enlightened soul. And for that, to come across such an enlightened person, you must have that supreme humility, that is respect and honor uh, for such enlightened person. And with that inner feeling that I know nothing. Because if you want to fill up your vessel, then you must come empty. If it is already filled, if you have that inner feeling that I know everything, then that feeling itself will not allow you to accept or even listen to the enlightened person. So these two basic quality is very important: supreme humility and the inner feeling that I know nothing. And further, to talk on the uh, holistic inner science and its principle, it is founded on the profound principle of discrimination free vision, that is, feeling of oneness with all, and perfect humility, that is, the modest feeling of I am the smallest. And it is because of these principles that it is a pure science, the ultimate science of life and living. And it is stepless, so it is inner science. And it doesn't have any chronology, which the outer science has. One can acquire this science directly through the divine grace of a fully enlightened soul, the holistic scientist. You know, if you look at the world today, we all are divided and live with some kind of bias based on our beliefs. And we have strong, I will say, very strong differences, primarily on religious and I would say territorial, patriotic grounds. And that's why we we are not living life in peace and harmony. And so we all are like fallen apart. We are unable to survive as a unified human race. We all talk big, but then where is the unity? See, we all are fighting with one another, one way or the other, between nations, within family members, between one another. So we are not surviving as a unified human race. And all the time we are competing, trying to prove our scientific, political, and military dominance, rather proving ourselves as number one. When everyone is trying to prove themselves as number one, we can understand the chaos of the life and living. We must rise from these petty feelings and thrive as a responsible, evolved, unified human race, uh, taking care of the mother nature and the ecosystem at its best. So, holistic inner science, through these principles of life and living, of discrimination free vision and perfect humility, teaches us that at the center of our existence, we all are unified one without any discrimination whatsoever. And with the quality of humility, that is egoless state, we will be able to pacify we will be able to pacify amicably ego of every individual we come across and establish unified human kingdom of peace, love, and harmony that respects every other living creature of this Mother Earth planet. So this is how the principle, the profound principle of holistic inner science works: discrimination-free vision and perfect humility. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Uh, so how does one, like you said, we fight, even we have quarrels. A husband and wife have different opinions and argue a lot. So how holistic science help us to live in oneness and we have a harmonious, happy living?
Right. Sorry, I have a very bad throat today with some effect of cold. So, see here, we must understand the cause of happening in our life, rather understand the cause of suffering in our life, which holistic inner science has so nicely revealed through its tested scientific understanding of happening. So when we understand the cause of suffering in our life, and when you have known that holistic inner science teaches you how to understand and handle life situations, it will always keep you happy and cordial with everyone. And some of these striking revelations are nothing comes from nothing. Although this is actually a song in one of the movies, but it reveals the holistic science principle as a science. So it says, accept everything that happens in your life as just, because nothing can happen as an effect uh, without a previous cause. And where there are causes and effects, there is science. This being related to human life and living aspect, it is life living science. So holistic science is life living science in this regard. It also says you are wholly and solely responsible for yourself. So it says do not blame anyone for your success that gives you happiness, or even failure that gives you misery. And in both situations, it is you only who is the sufferer. Both are suffering, that is, happiness and misery, both are suffering as per holistic science. And that is the end result of every happening. You look at any happening, either either it ends up in misery or it ends up in happiness. There is no third situation. And every situation ends up into likes or dislikes only. Nowhere you remain neutral. And so in our life situation, we come across odds and events. So it is said, when you have decided to adjust everywhere, come what may, let the situation be anything, you will definitely avoid clashes. Sorry for the break. When you have decided to adjust everywhere, whatever is the situation, you will definitely avoid clashes. That is, you will conserve all your vital life energies and make use for doing something good, something fruitful and positive by converting all your failures into grand success. So this is how holistic science help us convert every situation into a happy situation, cordial situation, harmonious situation. That's what it is. When you understand the science behind happening, okay.
Yeah, but now, you said my last question before I turn on to the audience, you know, that one of the principles of holistic science is oneness.
Is
How
what?
oneness.
Oneness, right.
Yeah. But then, you know, let's take an example, husband, wife. How can there be oneness when we come from different background, different thing, we have different opinions, different that. So there going to be always something, and how do you have oneness in the family before even we think of going outwards?
Right, that is true. We can say we must then first understand the cause of diversity in our life. When we understand the cause of diversity in our life, if any two individuals have to coexist, then that factor of adjustment is necessary. First, we must understand and accept that why the differences are there. You are born in a family. Your wife is born in another family. So your rearing is different. Everything is different. In that situation, you cannot expect any similarity. Okay, yes, you both are Patel, but then this needs to be understood. When you have the factor of adjustment, then that oneness is possible. And scientifically, it is said that the whole universe is made up of 6 eternals, primarily matter and soul. We know that matter is indestructible. We also know that soul is indestructible. And the whole science of living is play of the live matter associated with the living aspect of our body self and the soul self. So it's like we made two idol or statues out of the same stone, same material. Then you see, when you look at those idols, then they look different. But when you say the way it is made from, then there are no differences. In the same way, when you understand our body composition, then we get a clear understanding that although we look different, but we are made up of the same ingredient. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you understand this science, the inner science, then we understand it very easily, the oneness. Someone had analyzed the composition of a body, human body, composition of a body. It was burnt and ashes were analyzed. The surprising thing was he found that so many grams of calcium, so many grams of magnesium, iron, and other stuff. And when he evaluated the monetary value of that whole stuff, it ran into a few dollars only. That was surprising. So the physical content of our body costs few dollars only, but the living aspect is invaluable. How will you value someone living? So when we understand, have that insight of this holistic science, then we will understand that principally we all are made from the same stuff. And the only problem is with the conditioning, what we have passed through in our whole life, starting from our birth itself. And our life situations have molded us. So the professor, very renowned professor of psychology, Professor B.F. Skinner, he has identified this conditioning as everyone is radically conditioned. Now, radical conditioning is a very strong word. And when everyone is radically conditioned like this, you must have something which will evade or overcome and surpass or balance this conditioning for us to coexist. And holistic science has very nicely revealed, although the simple phrase of adjust everywhere sounds very simple, but we use this principle of adjustment everywhere, while driving, while walking, while getting down, climbing, everywhere in every situation of our life. This adjustment is necessary. Just imagine, while walking, if our left leg and the right leg, they don't go in coordination, how much time it will take for us to fall down? Split second. Split second. So just imagine how nicely our legs are working in great coordination that we are able to walk. We are able to walk independently from our almost like childhood, from the day we learned walking till we die or till we fall sick. Otherwise, we keep walking. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is how, when we understand this science, it is going to help us live harmoniously, cordially, and we will coexist.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open for questions. I know Shaila has some questions. So we'll start with Shaila then.
Okay,
Yes.
Deepakanandji, thank you very much for whatever you have said today. At the beginning, you were saying about the I in body self and I of soul self. So you said we
Correct.
normally go by I of body self, where we say I did this or I am feeling this, and you said it's better to go for the I and the capital I of soul self. Can you elaborate on that? How does one go into that? Like capital I. Yeah.
True, very true, very true. Now, the small I does everything, feels everything, good, bad. And the big I, that is referred to as soul self, it simply knows impartial knowledge of happening. So it's like when you say that I didn't like, then that is not my liking. I come to know that you didn't like. I come to know that you like certain thing. Okay, I as individual, separate individual, because I am not connected with your likes and dislikes. But you as an individual, you are so much connected emotionally with yourself and with your feelings. When you say, I didn't like, you get driven away, dragged into that feeling of liking. When you say, I don't like, same way you get driven away at the feeling of disliking. And that is the way I observe your likes and dislikes. Our inner soul self is also objective knower of your feelings. The way, like your husband says, I'm not feeling well, then you come to know that your husband is not feeling well. But that feeling, that bad feeling, you're not having the bad feeling. You become knowledgeable about your husband's health, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, our soul inside is like a mirror. How the mirror doesn't recognize us, none of us, but it reflects objectively whoever that comes in front of the mirror. In the same way, the soul self inside is an objective knower, without any bias, without any partiality. Without, it just knows that this thing happened. But the duality function of like, dislike, good, bad, nice, all those duality part is our living aspect of our feelings. And that is connected with the body self. The ego that likes, that don't like, that feels good, that doesn't feel good. Right? When we say small I, related with the body, connected with the name. And the body or the small I can be identified from the gross body to the subtlest ego. You cannot see, and body you can see. Speech you can hear. Mind, you can only feel from inside your thoughts. I cannot read your thoughts. You can read your thought, because my senses don't allow me, doesn't have power to read those thoughts, right? So the intellectual function, all those functionality, the body is the grossest, and the ego, that is claiming I like, I didn't like. Now the liking and disliking part is again a feeling function. And truly we come to know, but we get driven away by the likes and dislikes, the small I. But as big I, you know that I didn't like or I liked. Like how others say, I know when others say that I like or I didn't like, I know that the person didn't like, the person liked those things, right? It is tricky, but you have to really investigate and analyze who is feeling this and who is knowing this. One is the body self activity, the other is body self feeling through five senses. And the knower behind that is the soul self.
So,
So, okay.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, you have other questions, Chalaven?
Yeah, about the soul itself, Deepakanandji. I know soul is eternal. So, like when it leaves the body has no meaning to it once the soul leaves. But I wanted to know what do you feel about what happens to soul once the soul leaves body? I believe it tries to find another body, But then if the soul has found another body, why do we like pray for 13 days or some 12 days, thinking that the soul is there still, and to try to help the soul leave this world, we help with the prayers. So what is the truth there? Does the soul immediately try to find a body, or is there a period between leaving a body and then finding another body?
Very good question. Just imagine, when you got married, you left your mother's home and you were taken away, hand carried, I will say, hand carried, and then only they left you. They didn't leave you in the middle of the road that now you go and travel. They ensured that the moment they left you, you were handed into the hands of your husband and his family. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, when the body leaves when the soul leaves the body, at that time, it is like it gets stretched like a rubber band. When it gets connected to the next body, then only it leaves from here. This is normal happening. But there are cases when the soul leaves the body without getting connected with the next body. That is a very dangerous condition. And that happens exceptionally only, but that does happen. And when that happens, it has to wait for certain time until it gets the new body. And during that time, it has all the traits of feelings and all that. So it enters into someone else's body and fulfill its demands. That what we call as the wandering soul. But that wandering soul is only an exception, and it's a karmic result. Because the wandering soul is not alone, it is with it is with the causal body also in a very subtle form, which carries the traits of the next body, the next life form. And normally it is direct connection. Instantly, before dropping from here, it gets connected to the next body, and that next body could be of human, angel, hell, life, or plant or animal. So this is the law. So this is what happens. And when we reach that highest level of enlightenment, then we can see this clearly. Because this is also an activity of the life living activity of our body self, but it is very subtle. It is said it is very, you can say it is subtlest. So, but we can see only the grosser part through our five senses, and these are not to be seen through five senses. It is beyond five senses. One more thing, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We talked about those, you said about the 13 days. Actually, this is what it happens instantly, normally. But the person who has lost his relation, they feel so bad, they feel so down. So by performing certain ritualistic worship and all that, they divert their attention towards religious activity or spiritual activity. So after a few days, people tend to forget. Otherwise also they forget. But during that time, they can get very wild feelings. Some people, they blame the person who passed away. They can even curse them that you made my life miserable now, you're gone away and all that stuff. You should have taken care and been with me for longer and all that. So, see, when I utter certain thing, I'm responsible. Whatever vibrations I send into the nature, they come back to me. Although I'm uh, passing or saying that for someone else, but the law is if it goes out from here to anyone, it will come back for settlement here only. So to avoid that, our elders, they showed this way to divert our attention, so we get uh, diverted to spirituality or religious activity. That
Okay.
is the thing.
Okay, thank you.
Kanchan Bhai, you had a question?
Yeah. In the beginning, Deepakanandji, you said
Yeah.
that in order to understand holistic science completely, you have to find an enlightened man.
Right.
How do you find enlightened man? How do you know he is enlightened?
Uh,
In today's world, everybody is saying that yes, I am enlightened.
okay.
So who do
Very
you
good question.
trust?
Very good question. One thing, as a mortal, mundane person, we all know we have weaknesses. So if you approach someone or you come across someone, at least you should see that that person doesn't have those weaknesses, the same weaknesses. Then if he also has or she also has the same weaknesses, your going over there is not going to help you at all. Because you go to someone to uplift yourself, to you progress, then the person you're approaching or you're listening, he or she must be higher than you, first of all. Then that person will always help you. But when you see that he or she is also like you only, running around 5 cent stuff, which you are also there and you are struggling to fight and rise against them, then it is waste of time. That's why it is said, test before listening or spending your uh, valuable time, energy, and money. The way we do business where there is profit, same way we invest time, we invest money where you have profit, you have some substantial return. And if that is not there, you will not like to spend your time, energy, money. So some of these basic uh, indications or qualities are quite obvious. And if you check them, maybe it will take little time, but then it will be sure that you are safe over there. You will progress over there. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Right?
I have a follow-up what Kanchan Bhai said. So what you do in the meantime? You are in the search, but what do you do to look for or try to do yourself so you can
Very good.
come across a holistic scientist?
Very good. Very good. Actually, the holistic scientist has suggested, because, you know, uh, before doing anything, before we start anything, there is an intention. I want to go to America. I want to become a doctor. I want to become an engineer. I want to marry. I don't want to marry, all those stuff. And you know, you really like contemplate to achieve that, to acquire that, to accomplish that. So here, the holistic scientists have generally found what are the weaknesses of the worldly person who is suffering, wandering, looking for happiness, but he doesn't have that. And the most primary thing what he has given is you decide not to hurt anyone through your thought, speech, and action, through your mind, body, and speech. When you have decided, they will bring this simple basic prayer will bring a lot of changes in your life, because we don't know that unknowingly or knowingly we are hurting others through our thoughts, through our speech, through our actions, and they come back to you, whether someone knows, doesn't know, but since it has gone from here, it will come back for to the same place for settlement. So that is the basic, you can say, decision of life you can make, that I don't want to hurt anyone through my thought, speech, and action.
So what
And that will bring you,
saying
huh?
that if we do that, then eventually, if we follow it, observe ourselves, and then eventually we will meet the holistic scientist?
That's true. The reason is when the goal or the principle of this science is discrimination-free vision and perfect humility. Just imagine when you're hurting someone, is that humility? Is that modesty? Absolutely no.
No.
It is net obvious arrogance. And we as human, we all seek happiness. Our goal of life is happiness. And if we want to attain that or acquire that, achieve that, then we have to live our life accordingly. If I'm not taking care of others, how can I expect to be happy? So this basic uh, decision of life, not to hurt anyone, and these three are our instruments: body, mind, and speech. And when we use these instruments for helping others, or at least not using them to hurt others, it will elevate and increase our alertness, our caution. How cautious we are while driving on the road. Just imagine.
Very
While
cool.
climbing stairs or getting down, how much careful we are. You don't miss the step, otherwise you will fall and all that stuff. And in this age, after 60, 70, these things are very common. People fall, they get hurt, they have head injury or other kind of injury, they break their bones, whatnot. So they are so much careful. But here, we are not careful at all. And that's why you all are suffering. Nobody has any right to help us or hurt us also. Both. Anything, if that has gone out from here, it will come back. If you have hurt, it will come back as hurt. If you have helped, it will come back as help straight away.
Now, I have another follow-up question from what Shaila had said. Small and eye, big eye. You know, how would you benefit if you understand what the small eye is doing through the big eye? I mean, how can that really, really help us in our life? Because, I mean, okay, big eye watches, Rajni did this, right? He became angry. He talked badly, he talked nicely. So, how does that help in Rajni's life?
Okay. So, for example, when Tarubin says, I'm not well, what do? It's all because of your fault. Are you going to say that? Or
No.
you say, I'm there with you. What do you want me to do? I'll help you. Because as a separate individual, you understand the agony of the pain, what the other person is passing through, and you try to be helpful. But because you are there, But within our body, the all-knowing soul self is there, and we can handle ourselves, our pain and suffering, misery very nicely by patting ourselves. I'm there with you. Don't worry. Have you seen those players playing the uh, tennis, Wimbledon,
Yeah.
and other tournaments? When they don't perform or they don't hit correctly, they tell themselves, hit like this, don't do that. Have you heard that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Smart. So the way when you are not, so when your body self is not doing something rightly, which that it was wrong, then you tell yourself. So that small I, when that is not performing, the big I, through its all-knowing power, its impartial knowledge, it can tell and guide the small I.
So let me understand this. What you're trying to say, that I can look at my mistakes and I can look at my good things and bad things, and then I can correct it as I go along.
Absolutely. The way you tell other person when you see certain things in other person, bad things, then you tell the person, same way you see in your own body self, the small I self, and you can tell yourself, hey, don't do, Rajni, what are you doing? What are you heading towards? You're going to get into trouble. Please don't do that. And then when he gets into trouble, you can make him realize, see, this is what I was telling. Then he'll say, oh, yeah, you are right. The way we tell others, when they tell us something not to do, and still we do, and then when we get into trouble and the other person says, I told you not to do that, then say, okay, I'm sorry. That's how you correct yourself. So before doing anything wrong, if you make a decision beforehand, I don't want to hurt anyone through my thought, speech, and action, that will naturally create a caution within you, and you will see that you're not hurting anyone. And when you don't hurt anyone, you'll always be happy. Very straightforward equation. Give and take. What goes around comes around, the way we say, that's what it is. Newton's third law. Sorry, you have to turn on, Mrs. Rao. Yeah, okay.
You have a question?
Deepakanandji, yeah. I mean, I think I've lost the camera, but I can hear you. So I think now I got the answer because Rajni Bhai elaborated on it and you gave that answer. That means, for example, if I'm angry with someone, I should bring out my soul, capital I, talk to that soul. It's basically having a self-talk and correct myself. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got that answer. Good. Yeah. Thank you.
It is like that big I is the impartial I, which objectively sees, analyzes, perceives everything impartially. And that's how you can guide yourself easily.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Shailavan, this brings our conversation, or what you were saying, that when you're traveling from Anand Vihar to Michigan, you had a lot of things to do and you were upset and you were stressed out. So this just connects, what you just said just connects with me.
Right. Self-talk. Talk to your soul's I and let the soul's I tell you what is good and what is not. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Now, is there anybody question? I have another question, Deepakanandji. Earlier we said that holistic inner science is the science of mind, body, and speech. What that really means?
See, the body self is full of activity. The soul self is all-knowing. It is because of the power of knowledge. Just imagine, can there be any activity without knowledge?
No.
Think. We have to analyze every activity of our life, every happening of our life. certain things, what we are doing is because of our conditioning. The radicalized conditioning, what has happened to us all our life, from our childhood, from our birth itself, is making us do several things which is against our happiness.
True.
What it means, it is going to give us misery, suffering all along. And we are not even aware of that. We say, I don't care. Many times. If you're not saying that, obviously, it means that. And we all are struggling to be happy. Then you have to correct yourself. When the mistake is originating from your own self, then you have to correct that first. You can't change the world, because the world, as it is said, it is your reflection. How you go in front of the mirror is your reflection. So you don't change anything when the mirror shows you something. You change yourself. In the same way, when you come across anything in the world is your reflection, you change yourself. If you change, the world will change for you.
So, in other words, what you're saying, uh, we're talking mind, body, and speech. So, what you have to change is the mind function, or your.
I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example. See, the car which you are driving, it has basic transmission and all that stuff. But the intelligence is with the driver. Okay.
True.
So that is where you're making use of that impartial knowledge of the big I, capital I, the soul self, to change your body functionality, body self functionality, which is violent. And due to that, you are facing misery and suffering in your life, and you want to be happy.
So you're saying the change is radically belief will change to
Yes.
unradical belief. Is that
So it's like the how the body function will, if you try to analyze. Five senses gathers information impartially. Five senses gathers information impartially. But the way it is processed in our mind is different for different person. A non-vegetarian person looking at the vegetarian stuff which is placed in the meeting says, why there is no food? And the vegetarian guy who is there says, my God, such a great variety I have never seen in my life. In vegetarian food, you can make so many varieties. So the belief matters. That is why it is said, mind is the cause of wandering. And the very mind, when it is tamed and nurtured properly, correctly, it is a great vehicle that can liberate you. So mind is the cause of wandering, and the mind is the cause of liberation also.
so? You give example of non-vegetarian, vegetarian. So that is when we make a opinion. Okay, that is our impartiality.
Not,
Partiality.
not exactly that way. It is like whatever we say, whatever we believe, and whatever we say, speak. When both these things get multiplied, then it results into a belief. A mind is formed, a belief is formed. A trait, a knot in the mind gets formed about that belief. And that knot, that belief is going to reflect in your life anytime when you come across that situation.
So you're saying when you look at the big I, that's where the impartiality will come out, and then your decision or your opinion will be sort of impartial.
Let us say like this: our intellect is light of the same impartial soul through egoism. So the intellect is tainted by the nature of your ego.
Okay.
But the light of pure soul, direct light of pure soul, is capital I. So when you try to see, analyze, and observe things, what is understood by the capital I, not by the intellect. Intellect is part of the small I. It could be partial, it could be like that. But the capital I is always impartial. It shows us things as it is. It's like, you know, because you like certain thing, the intellect will favor you to do those things. But the big I sees even beyond intellect. So the small I, under the influence of intellect, will drag you towards temporary happiness. It doesn't see that happiness is temporary. But when the big I, when there is influence of the big I, what happens? You start understanding that, hey, this is going to be temporary.
Oh, that's important. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have that understanding, see, both are light. Certain time, the same light, when it is not under influence of ego, it is pure light. It's a very thin demarcation between the soul light and the intellect light. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
When it favors ego, then you have to understand that it is intellect light. When it favors everyone and it favors big I, then it is the big I light.
Wonderful.
Because the small I is very partial and the big I is impartial. The big I will always see collective happiness. The small I will always think of the small I happiness. I don't care for others. I care for me.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much. I'll summarize it, and in the meantime, Deepakan, you can think about any homework and any other things you want to wrap it up. So we talked about principles, and I think you just gave very simplicitly only two major principles. I know nothing, be humble, and that's one thing. And the second thing is impartiality and oneness. And that's what all the holistic inner science does. And then you little bit alluded to some of the tools like uh, uh, avoid clashes, adjust everywhere. So we can always talk about more practicality in the next time. So thank you very much. If you will wrap it up with some homework or last thought.
Yes, surely yes. I believe we should try to go little deeper into our feelings part, like how I evaluated. I gave some of the examples I like, I didn't like. We are so much connected with those feelings that we are unable to uh, accept, understand other person's beliefs, liking or disliking. So when you say that I like, then we have to understand that the body cells that like. When you say I don't like, then because that is very subtle. Those feelings that come and go, they are of the small I. And consistent or continuous knowledge function is that of the big I, the soul self, which always knows impartially. Okay,
Okay.
so we will try to make a kind of create a mindfulness on these basic aspects of our feelings, because we are so much connected. And when you know that these feelings are also the temporary aspect of our body self, not the permanent aspect of the soul self, which is all only knowing, we will be freed and uh, freed from the temporary aspect and its entanglement. Our connectivity with these temporary feelings drives us. We don't know, we make other person suffer. We make the other person's life miserable. And many times, or most of the time, it is our better half who get the benefit of this. And we don't want to do that. Right. That's why we are together. So let us make an observation. So we understand these inner feelings, these temporary feelings of likes and dislikes and other stuff of duality. We don't get driven away, and collectively let us work for happiness of one and all.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Deepakanandji, for joining us. Hope you feel better. And thanks
Oh
all.
yeah, see, my voice has also become clear, but only thing during this time.
Yeah, I need a rest. Take care.